A tale so frightening, it'll make you shiver. A tale of past, present, and future. Prepare to be scared out of your mind from a ghost. Seriously? Babe, pound it. Come on, man, don't let me in the gear shift now. I love you, kiss me. Welcome. For all of October, my Wildcard Wednesdays are gonna be spooky. So I'm really excited. There'll be ghosts and goblins and vampires and I don't know. Hi, I'm Fallon and I was haunted. For the record, I'm not an alcoholic. But, so I wanted to do a little story time about how I grew up in a haunted house. And for those who don't know or are curious, my house was on Celebrity Ghost Stories. So you can check that out. My dad did that story and it's quite interesting. I will link down below kind of what episode and everything, but it's not about that. This is about my own haunting story in that house and how I don't know how I grew up in a haunted house. So basically, okay, so my mom and my sister and all of them have stories of their own about how our house was haunted. So I'm not crazy, I'm not the only one, but this, I don't even know where to start because so much happened. We lived in this house from before I was even born to when I was 18. So quite a long time. And we had psychics come to the house and they said that there were like all these spirits, some good, some bad, but that it was really a hot spot. And you know what? I kind of believe that because some very questionable things happened in this house. So let's get into it. Ever since I was really little, I would always talk about like ghosts and stuff in the house that I saw, and I'd be like, oh, I saw a shadow or I saw this and that. And I mean, when I was really little. And then when I was 12, my great grandma passed away. And I feel like things kind of picked up then. Things like lots of doors slamming, footsteps, all those things that you can't really explain. Growing up, we had issues with like stalkers and things like that, so we were always really paranoid about people being there. And granted, maybe some of it was in our head because we were so scared, but there were many times where we'd hear footsteps, we'd swear, my brother and I would swear there was someone in the house, and there was no one there. And I mean, literally, we thought there were people in the house. There were footsteps, there were doors slamming, we could hear voices. There was people in the house, but no one was there. And so there's that. And then one time I was laying in my room and I had my bed, and then I had this like fold out mattress, kind of just like three like chair pads that were sewn together. And I was laying in my room on my bed, and all of a sudden the mattress flew up and shut my door. It wasn't like it was heavy enough that wind wouldn't do it, but it wasn't like it was an actual mattress, you know, and it terrified me. And little things like that were always happening where you're like, that doesn't make sense. So when we were really little, my friends and I made the mistake of playing with Ouija boards a lot. And I mean, I'm sure my friends moved it. I moved it at one point. And when we were young, there was one time we were playing with the Ouija board in my bathroom. And so, kind of to give you reference, there was a door leading into my bathroom, and it was the 2 sinks and a mirror on one side, and then another mirror and a door on the other side. And that door led into like the toilet and bathtub. So we were all sitting in there, and we had a candle on there, and we had the door behind us closed, but the other door that led to the toilet and the bathtub open. And all the lights were off. And we all, like, I was the one who closed the door, and I didn't lock it. So we're all sitting there playing with the Ouija board, and I'm sure someone was pushing it. You know, we were freaking each other out. And we're sitting in this circle, and I just remember seeing a shadow out of the corner of my eye, and someone asked, are you, I can't remember how they phrased it, but basically like, are you a good spirit? And all of a sudden, I swear I saw this shadow move, and then the candle blew out, and the door slammed, and all of us freaked out, and we went to open the door that led to the hall, and it was locked. And I know I was the one who closed the door. I was closest to it. I did not lock that door. And it locks from the inside, not the outside. So we panicked a lot. Finally, I jumbled it, unlocked, and we all ran out, and we were like, we are done with Ouija boards. That is it. And I mean, we were like 13 years old. Like, we were really young. And then when I was in high school, I had a little party. And I mean, a lot of instances had happened about my house being haunted. And I had this party, and we were in, we called it the lodge, but it was basically like a downstairs man cave for my dad. But it was a really big area. So and it had like just a bunch of cool entertainment stuff in it. So we had opened it up for my party, and a majority of us were in there, and we were talking about how my house was haunted. And this room, one of the psychics said was the worst room, with like there were 2 rooms in our house where they said there was the most amount of spirits, and I'll get to the other room. This one, they were like, there's a lot of spirits here, and you could feel it. Like, you had goosebumps whenever you walked in. And so basically the way the room is there was the downstairs area that you walked in, and it was like a normal room like this, and then it opened up to like a living room area where we had a TV and a fireplace, and the ceiling went really high, and it was, I think, vaulted is what you call it. And then there was stairs leading up to a little office area with like it was like a little balcony office area, and that led back to the rest of the house. And so we were downstairs, and in front of the fireplace is this big iron cage. So we're downstairs, and we are sitting in front of this cage talking about, and I mean, we were a few feet from the cage, but we're talking about how my house was haunted. And one of my friends says, oh, yeah, I had met her later on. This was like the first time she was at my house. She goes, yeah, I don't believe in that. I don't think your house is haunted. Like, oh, ghosts. And as she said, oh, ghosts. And as she said that, the iron cage in front of the fireplace, which like had not moved in like at least a year, because we had not used that fireplace in a long time, it flew off and hit us feet away. And she was just like, her face went white, and we all just kind of sat there, and we were like, let's not talk about this anymore. How about that? And then there were many instances where you'd take pictures, and there would be like orbs and stuff in the pictures. I had one picture I took, and unfortunately, I know people are going to be like, oh, you're lying. Like, of course you lost the evidence, whatever. But I was laying on the couch. I took this picture, and unfortunately, it was on an old phone that didn't get backed up, and I don't have the picture anymore. This was years ago. But the picture, I took like 3 pictures in a row, and the first picture, there's nothing. And then the second picture, it looks like there's a hand going over my face, like a white shadow hand. And then the third picture, there was nothing. And I remembered as I was taking those pictures that I felt like a chill. And yeah, that's just another little piece. And then, so going back to what I was saying, there was 2 rooms that were really bad. That man cave room, and then there's our guest bedroom, one of them. And my mom collected creepy porcelain dolls. Like, you know, those dolls you see in horror movies that are always possessed? Yeah, we had like tons of them. Tons of them. I'll insert a picture of examples here, here, and here for you of creepy dolls. And my mom had them all lined up in this room. And so when you walked in the room, you just felt like all the dolls were looking at you and that they were going to kill you. Like, that's how you felt. You were terrified of these dolls. And even my dad, who was not scared of things, hated these dolls because they creeped him out so much. They gave him an off feeling. And whenever people would sleep in there, they'd always wake up in the middle of the night, just like they'd have these awful nightmares, and these dolls would just be staring at them. And it was like in the middle of the night, you'd be like, did that just move? Like, did that doll just move, you know? Well, I was lucky enough that I had to move rooms, and my mom cleared out her creepy doll collection, and I got to live in that room for the last few months of me living there. Well, I never had bad nightmares, and then the second I moved into this room, I started having just the most horrible nightmares. And they were of like demons and stuff like that, and I'd wake up with like scratches. But in my mind, I kept thinking, okay, you know, I could have scratched myself in my sleep, but I never did before. And I'd wake up with these like weird scratches from these creepy demon dreams that I still don't quite feel comfortable going into depth about. But like, I did have experienced sleep paralysis and stuff with them. And I know they say like you can hallucinate with those dreams, but it didn't feel like that to me, especially since it only started once I was living in this room. And then on top of all of this, there was in this hallway where this guest room was. So we had this long hallway, and there was the family room, the guest room, and at the end of the hall was the man cave room that we called the lodge. And in this hallway connecting it all, you would always see shadows. There were always shadows walking down the halls. And when we had the psychic come, she even said there were spirits in this hall. And we would always see shadows, and specifically there was always this shadow of a man who was tall. It was just a black shadow, so you couldn't tell details of his face, nothing like that, but you could tell he was tall. It looked like he was in some sort of trench coat type thing, because it wasn't too like defined of like waist and legs, you know. And he had a hat on, and it was like a, I don't know what you call them, not a top hat, but you know where it like has the brim and then just like this little portion. Fedora, I don't know, but excuse me for my lack of hat knowledge. But you would always see the shadow, and I saw it. I had friends see it, other family members saw it. It wasn't just me, and you always got a bad feeling from him, and I would always feel like a rush of cold air when I saw him, goosebumps. My stomach would go into a knot, and I felt like I was gonna throw up. a lot of things like that. And yeah, so my house was very much haunted growing up, and I think that it was good spirits and it was bad spirits, and I think that to this day it has, in a sense, numbed me in the real world for spirits, because I I'll get freaked out and stuff, but I am very much like, okay, it's not what I think it is. I need to not think about it. Just get through this, because that's what I did growing up, because I had to live in that house. But when I see scary movies that are ghost movies, or like demons, or like paranormal activity, stuff like that, I can't, it scares me so bad. I can't handle it, because to me, that in my mind can really happen, and I don't like the reality of it, and it scares me way too bad. So that is my story. Keep up with my Wildcard Wednesday spooky edition. Anyways, bye.